right. Hey, everyone. Happy Friday. Thanks so much for watching. Prepare to go there. My name is Peter Burchfield. I'm the host of this video podcast, and I'm also the creator of the course Pioneer the Year, helping you stop all those repeat years so you can lead yourself into new frontiers. We're going to have a great day. We've got a lot of ground to cover. I'm so just fired up to help you go where your best work can happen. You know, a lot of us, we know where we want our life to go, or we know where we want the year to go. We know kind of that general direction where things are going, you know, right and up, but we don't know where to go to get that work done. Where can we actually focus on the strategic and tactical things that help us make those dreams and reality, those dreams and goals a reality? And so that's the conversation for today. But before we begin, I want to just kind of set this up with a few opening comments. The first one is, I am so grateful that you are watching this guided coaching journey, that you show up every Friday. Thank you so much for investing in your leadership and investing in your future. My passion is to help you with that preparation process. It's not glamorous. It's not flashy. A lot of people don't give it enough attention or credit, but you still got to do it. You got to go through this necessary process of preparing to go there, wherever that is, wherever you're going to be leading, and whatever field of life you're going to be taking on next. And so because it doesn't get a lot of attention, we can just overlook it, or we can excuse ourselves from it, but you really can't do that. And so this conversation is just fuel for your focus, and I'm welcoming you into my own Future Friday. Future Friday is kind of my backstage day where I'm able to go on a weekly planning session and kind of navigate my time and my commitments in a 7-day view, or a 30-day view, or even a 3-month view, like we're coming up on Q2 pretty soon. And then I also just like to have a lot of free space to dream, learn, grow, research. So it's just kind of like a deep dive day for me. And I think we need more of that because our world is just working us over. And that's fine because, we're not fragile, but we can't get distracted from the real work that needs to get done. We can't get discouraged and kind of take on easier, kind of more convenient tasks or do what I refer to as fake work. And we need to stay focused on the real work that's going to be creating the future that we need and that we need to lead others into. So, having said that, if you are watching live, let's make this a conversation. Please go ahead and say hi in the chat. I'd love to see where you're watching from and get your questions ready because the whole reason we're doing this thing live, even if you're watching the replay, plan ahead. It's all about working on your leadership journey in real time. And so I'm trying to just make space for us to connect in this way. So if you have a question that's about this channel or conversation, then let's get into it. And also, you're noticing I am sporting a new hat. I want to show it off. It is the Honesty Club podcast hat. And I'm so proud of my wife, Sarah Joy. She just launched a podcast. You can find it anywhere podcasts are going live. And she and her friend, Kelly, launched a amazing podcast on life and all things honesty, I guess. They're just giving their honest takes on a variety of topics. It's really refreshing. I just heard the first one go live yesterday. They post stuff on Thursdays, and it was amazing. This first one was about adult peer pressure. You really do never outgrow it. You say, Peter, why are you talking about podcasts on your own YouTube podcast? And it's because I'm super proud of my wife. She's amazing, and we've got to support these pioneering ventures. And I think it's a great case study for where a lot of us are. I mean, no one told her and her friend to make this podcast. They initiated it. They have full lives and things they're working on and relationships and responsibilities that could totally preoccupy their calendar. But they had this passion and they wanted to share it with other people. And so they took the initiative to figure out how are we going to make this happen. And this was an idea a year ago, and now it is a real thing as of yesterday. And so I'm super proud of them, and that applies to you too. You have dreams and ideas and projects that are just kind of growing internally in your own head and heart. And you've got to figure out, how are we going to make space for that to show up in real time in the future? And it's not convenient. No one's going to be holding your hand. You're not going to have a lot of external motivation, a lot of people kind of propping you up, dragging you along, reminding you in the form of, nagging you or bragging on you. You're going to need to lead yourself. And you're going to have to stay focused on the future long enough until your ideal life becomes your real future. And so that's why we've got to focus on ourselves, the workflow, and the work that has to get done. And so with that, let's get into Prepare to Go There, figuring out how we can level up our leadership journey. And we got to grow, right? That's how we're going to level up. And I want to invite you into this learning leadership community. And we're going through a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. It was recommended to me by my mentor, and I said, absolutely, let's do this. And I want to share this book with you. Maybe we could talk about it at some point in one of the future episodes. But do you have time in your calendar where you could just read a book, where you could grow, where you could show up on future Fridays and be thinking about how you're leading yourself? And are you auditing the value of the work you're creating and the things that you're putting in your schedule? Otherwise, you are absolutely going to drift. You're going to drift further and further away instead of closing the gap and getting closer and closer towards the things that you said were important. And so we want to talk about, where do we go to find the best work? And how do we actually get to those places, whether that's the headspace or the workspace, where our best work can happen? I can't tell you how frustrating it has been over the years to try to just find a place to work. I mean, to really get in your alone zone and get in a flow where, time kind of changes around you. You're kind of suspended in this creative zone. And it's a joy to have, but it unfortunately can feel kind of evasive or elusive, and you're just kind of wondering, man, when is that next awesome work session going to happen again? And life happens, and so the things we said we were going to do kind of drift to the back burner, and we've got to ask these questions so that way we keep the future on the front burner. And so I found that this is going to start with maybe more of a paradigm shift, and then it's going to get really practical. But I do want to start with this big idea, because it is going to help you go where your best work can happen. I mean, my wife and I, we just went to Nashville, and we got to enjoy some remote work there as well towards the end of the week. And, you just assume that everywhere has Wi-Fi. You just assume that you're going to have all of the equipment in your backpack, or you just assume that people are going to be available to answer your emails and respond to your questions and, chip in on your work. But that is not the case. That doesn't always happen. And we often find ourselves in less than ideal environments. We often find ourselves in counterproductive places where it feels like things are working against us. Things are distracting us, derailing us, interrupting us, disrupting. And even with good intentions, we're trying to be available to our team members, our family members, our friends. We're trying to be available online in DMs or different forums. And I mean, people don't know when you scheduled to have great work done. They don't know what your work habits are. And so they're going to poke at your system. They're going to mess with your productivity. They're going to get in the way. It's not always a bad thing. It's not always so malicious or nefarious, but it will happen. And so it becomes more and more few and far between to get into really great work sessions, and then to kind of stack these work sessions one in a row, one after another, so that way we are getting our best work done with momentum, and we're following through with the idea to the reality. It's easier said than done. And it's probably because more is being said than done. And that's why we got to figure this out. So I want to help you go where your best work can happen. And first, it's a paradigm shift. And it's kind of getting your headspace in the right place where your best work can happen. But then it's really practical. And there's some things that we can know and try and do to show up again and again. Because what happens is we just default to binge working. Now, that's not the same necessarily as batch working. Batch working is where you're thinking about the big picture first. You start with the end in mind and you kind of do some backwards planning. Binge working is kind of like, the way we engage with entertainment. Binge watching shows or movies where we just kind of sit down and we neglect everything else and we just kind of binge on one thing at one time for a really long time until we're either like so hungry we get hangry, or we just kind of pass out and fall asleep in the couch, or we are, forcibly removed so that way we can deal with the other responsibilities of our life. And that may work, but it has a lot of side effects and a lot of negative kind of symptoms in a ripple effect that you don't want to tolerate for a really long time. It might be cool to work that way, like, when you're in college or when you're just getting started and you just having fun, just kind of like staying up all hours in the night and just kind of riding the wave. But if you're going to go the distance and make a difference, if you're going to like really lead yourself for the long haul, you're going to have to figure out how to be more intentional and more sustainable with the things you're working on. And that's not going to happen just by you kind of neglecting all these fronts of your life just so that way you can pretend like you're in your alone zone and you're just kind of working on one thing. There are times where you sprint for sure, but if you're doing it that way, you're not going to have as many chances to make progress. And so that more intentional, incremental approach is going to yield you more opportunities and better quality for the real work that needs to get done. So where do we actually go to find our best work? Where is our best work waiting on us? And I think that's the big paradigm shift we have to find, is your best work is already waiting on you. For real, I'm convinced that there are books that need to be written. There are businesses that need to be launched. There are community groups that need to get formed. There's music that needs to be written and recorded. There's initiatives that need to be personalized and then mobilized. And yet we just don't have the time for it. And so we're waiting on something that's actually waiting on us. And you can waste so much time. I'm not just talking about weeks. I'm talking about years and decades because you have the wrong paradigm in the way you approach this work. You may have a past-present mindset where you're just kind of bringing back what you've always done and you're just kind of living out of routine, which puts you in the ruts of life. And you're just repeating, and that's how we get in that repeat year cycle that I talk about in the Pioneer of the Year course. Or you can just kind of get so like militant. What's up, brother man? I think that's my friend. Awesome. We can kind of get militant and we double down on the present. And absolutely, we got to have our head down and we've got to get things done. But if we don't have that high level view, we can get into the drift. And we drift away from the things we said were important and the things we said were possible. And basically, we take too long. We do get to the destination, but we might get there too long. Or we get there unprepared. And we don't realize that the process we're on right now is actually preparing us while we are working on the thing that we're preparing for. I hope that makes sense. I trust that it does. But I'm convinced that your best work is waiting for you. And so you got to go for it. You got to go for it now. You've got to figure out, how do I get clear so that way I can pioneer? How do I get clear on the goal? How do I get clear on the process? How do I get clear on the timeline and the schedule? How do I clarify all these things that are cluttering my path so that way I can actually get that work done? And you're not going to find your best work if you're borrowing other people's Wi-Fi, other people's motivation, other people's timelines, other people's skill sets. You can absolutely plan that into your workflow and coordinate that to serve that journey you're on. But my hope and my passion is to help you realize that this is something you're going to have to take initiative on. This is something that you're going to have to personalize and get organized for. And the same way, you can't just be kind of like wandering through your work, just kind of doing what feels good or doing what you feel encouraged about. You're going to have to start with the end in mind, work your way back, and then go do it. And so that's why I'm convinced that your best work is waiting for you, not in the ideal environment, okay? Whoever went pioneering, in a very ideal, park or something. I mean, it's already been explored. It's already been developed. We're going where people haven't gone before. We're going where people haven't tried it before in your industry or with your ministry. We're going to try new things and do new things that are harder on us so that way it's easier on others later on. And we're doing it not because it's easier, and we're doing it not because it's popular. We're doing this because it is valuable. It is good. It is noble. It is necessary for the future that we're going to be living in, as well as the future we're going to be leaving with others. And so we have to be willing to do those hard things ourselves. And that means you're not going to always have an ideal work environment. I mean, it's kind of macro in my head and heart, and it's a part of kind of my working philosophy, but it's also very, very micro and personal and practical. And it's like, man, if I need the perfect office, the perfect conditions, the perfect week, the perfect scenario, if I need everything to go my perfect way, then that's going to be like a unicorn or a shooting star, or, it's going to be so few and far between that I either have to really get a lot done in those moments where it actually all lines up, or I'm not going to be making the pace and the progress that I need to get where I want to go. And so that's why I think you just have to be willing to work on yourself. And instead of chasing your ideal work schedule, ideal work life, ideal whatever, that's not the end result. That's the starting point. I'm all for ideal day and ideal mornings and ideal work and ideal breakfast, lunch, dinner, or whatever. But the thing I'm not for is that ideal is not the destination. Ideal is the starting point. You actually start with this, hey, this is kind of what I think a good schedule would look like. This is kind of what I think could enable that progress. But actually, I'm working towards my real future. My real future is way better than my ideal life. I really believe that. I think your real future is far better than your ideal life. I mean, if you knew what was waiting on you right now, if you knew the work and the opportunities and even the people that needed your help and your leadership and your serving, and you knew the impact that you could make in other people's lives, I mean, you wouldn't want to trade that for any kind of like self-absorbed celebrity lifestyle where, the world and everything you're working on revolves around you. Like, I just don't think that's, not only do I think that's not realistic, I don't think that's desirable personally. And I want to go do the best work I can. And I realize it's not going to always happen in these like perfect little insulated bubbles. It's going to go happen in messy places. It's going to happen with crazy schedules. It's going to happen in kind of the flux of life. And that's why I need to dig deep, and I need to be working on my self-leadership, because you can take two different people. One person needs a lot of hand-holding, and they need to get propped up all the time because they're very fragile and they're very unprepared, and they're not really committed to go through the process. And they may get there, but it may take a long time. Somebody else who's already counted the cost, who already says, hey, I realize it's going to be tough, but I'm tougher, and I am okay with going through this process, and I'm going to lean into it, and I'm going to serve, and I'm going to submit to the process while I go through this. I just think they're going to find the way. They're going to find the way they need to go to get there. So some of this is me just kind of sharing out of my passion, but I want to get to some more practical stuff. So let's get into the next thing. So where is your best work waiting on you? Here's the paradigm shift. Your best work is waiting on you in the future. Your best work is waiting for you in the future. That is the difference between fake work and future work. Hey, what are you doing today? I'm just kind of hanging out. I'm just kind of watching stuff, talking to people, doing some errands, doing some stuff. That's cool. But what are you working on? I mean, think about it. To me, it seems pretty simple, because maybe I've just thought about it and felt it and gotten beaten up by my own workflow a few times. And I've kind of shored this up for myself. But man, the stuff that is really valuable, the stuff that I need to be focused on, is actually in my future. It's not, I'll get to it when I can. I'll do that when it's fun or when it's necessary. It's like, that is happening on the calendar, and it's coming straight towards me. And I need to be prepared for it, and I need to be getting ready on it and working on it. And if you don't have that kind of future focus, then there's no urgency, there's no responsibility, there's no even expectancy about, wow, I have something to do today. Today matters because it's directly connected to what's going to be happening in a few days or weeks or years from now. And so there has to be that future focus. We're working on the future. We're working on the future. The future is waiting on us, and we've got to get to work. That's what we're working on. That's what we're working towards. And so if you haven't identified the book, the team, the business, the whatever, and you don't know what's possible or what's at stake, then you're not going to be working through all of the junk. You're not going to be working through the learning curve. You're not going to be working through the challenges and the choices that become the gauntlet and disqualify a lot of people along the way. But when you go to work on the future, and I mean this in a kind of a conceptual sense, but also in a very practical sense, you're putting the future on your calendar today. I want you to catch this. There's something in the future that's important. There's something in the future that's possible. Your project, your values, your trips, your destinations, whatever. There's something out there, and it needs your attention right now. And you will either be motivated by procrastination, or you're going to be motivated by preparation. Are you going to choose procrastination today and hit the snooze button on your future work, or are you going to choose to do the real work today, which is preparing in some way for that future role that you're focused on? Man, I want to step into this role. I want to be this kind of leader. I want to do this kind of work. I want to help these kind of, I want to serve these people in this community or this place or in this scenario. And man, if we could just up and go and do all that stuff today, we would, right? Because we're passionate about it. But there's something in between there and now And it's the work that has to get done. So we've got to be working on the future today. So literally, I go to work on the future. That is where my best work happens. When I can filter and audit everything that I'm thinking about, talking about, working about, it's not that I'm obsessed in my fantasy. I'm going to work on my future. Like so many people, they're losing time and they're wasting their best years in fantasy land. But the people that are prepared, the people that are going to lead themselves, the people that are going to be leaders in the future, they're thinking about it right now. They're going for it right now. They're taking initiative right now. And it's their focus that is allowing them to create the future work that's needed to show up ready. I love the quote. I think I'm 99% sure it's coming from the military world, but we don't rise to the occasion. We fall back on our preparation. So what you're doing today matters, and we don't always feel fired up to do that work in the day-to-day, and that's why we have to remind ourselves. When I look at my calendar and I look at those time blocks, I should be seeing future things in my calendar today, because that's how I'm going to get the work done, and that's how I'm going to show up ready. So, like in our space, I'm involved with my church community, and so Easter's not in 40 days from now. Easter's today, right? Because I'm working on the future now. Focus is what allows me to work on the future today. But if I'm not focused, then I'm not working on the future at all. I'm drifting, I'm reacting, I'm just doing what I'm thinking about. I'm wandering, but I'm not intentionally working on anything, or I'm not working towards anything. So I just want to encourage you, like, as you go through today, Future Friday, right? And you're going to map out the next 7 days. You're going to take 30 minutes. That's the goal that we make, right? We've been doing this a few rounds. You're going to be showing up. You're looking at the next 7 days. You're going to be, identifying those big rocks, putting down your time blocks. You're going to be making your best bet. Hey, I want to make this week count. And so I'm not going to wing it. I'm actually going to work on myself. I'm going to work on my workflow, and I'm going to do the pre-work so that way when I show up, I can do the real work. And as I'm labeling all of these time blocks, I shouldn't just be seeing stuff in the moment. It's always stuff that has a future focus. Meetings in your team have a future focus. All right? Budgeting, when you're budgeting with your family or your spouse or whoever, it's future focused, right? All the things that matter, all the things that we're going to do to stay on track are future focused. And I don't know how we miss this in our own, work environment. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to steal away, and we're trying to escape all of the attractions and distractions that are going on around us. And then we disconnect from, oh, that's not where I'm going to find the best work anyways. It's because I'm not going to the future to put in the work that I need to get done. But the moment you have that mindset, oh, I'm doing future work today, I'm working on my future, I'm preparing to go there, right? Prepare to go there. Once you get that mindset and you say, man, that is my bread and butter, that's what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. I'm not just having some strategic offsite and having like some planning thing. No, every day of the week is future focus. Every work session I have should be leaning towards the things that are important and possible. It becomes this lifestyle. It becomes this skill set. And now your best work is not held captive to chance or to circumstance, but now your best work is in reach because you realize you didn't have to travel somewhere better that had better Wi-Fi and better environment and better whatever. You had to learn. You can optimize. Absolutely. Why not optimize? If you can optimize, do it. Be more effective, be more efficient. But that's not where it starts. It starts with, what are you actually working on? And the reason we're getting so discouraged is because we're cluttered and we're so foggy and we don't know what we're actually doing. And we got to remember, I'm working on my future today. There's something specific. There's something intentional that needs my attention today. And that's what I'm going to go to work at. All right. So I want to get into the planning part, but before we kind of dive into your week, I want to help you work on your calendar and answer your questions and talk about workflow and talk about this paradigm shift and give you some ideas. But I do want to just kind of have a quick call to action, because this is a big deal to me. It's a big conversation. It's what I actually do is I coach future-focused people to be pioneering leaders. And pioneering leaders are needed more than ever. Pioneering leaders are not, just something that happened in the past. Every generation has new pioneering leaders. Every generation have people that are leading the charge in innovation and towards the future that we all want and need. And so whatever your industry is, whatever your space is, whatever field of life you're, exploring and expanding, you're going to need to have a new operating system. And I call that pioneering leadership. And so it starts by leading yourself. And that's what this whole conversation is about with Prepare to Go There, self-leadership. And then there's other places and projects that I have that focus on team leadership and then generational leadership. But the first step, man, if you're like getting fired up and you're like, man, I think that's what I've been missing, is when I am honest and when I audit the work week I had and why it got so shredded and sabotaged by all of these interruptions and disruptions. It's because I wasn't really clear on the category that I was going to prioritize, and it's future work. I wasn't doing future work. I was doing fake work. All this stuff that I was thinking about, talking about, working on wasn't really future focused. But now I know, hey, every day I show up to work, I'm working on my future. I'm working on something that is waiting to happen. It's not something that I'm waiting on as much as it's something that's waiting on me. And I'm not talking about all those things that are out of your control. There's plenty inside your control. And what we do is we defer it, we avoid it, and then we get compromised emotionally and physically and otherwise. So I want to give you a call to action, and that is to really take this year to heart and to believe that you can have a transformational kind of year. You can pioneer this year. It can be unlike any other year you've had. It doesn't have to be a rut. It doesn't have to be you just going through the motions again and again. You don't have to just keep having the same goals, writing down the same frustrations in your journal, and just kind of like looking out at the same clearing year after year saying, okay, one day I'll get there, one day I'll get there, one day I'll get there. And you actually exaggerate why you're not getting there. And you think, well, it's because it's Mount Everest and I'm not strong enough and I'm not ready and I don't have the skill sets and I don't have the relationships or the networking and I don't have the training. And the truth is, it's not you waiting on something else that's going to happen. It's all this that you're looking at that you're passionate about. It's waiting on you, and you've got to lead yourself and you've got to stay focused on your future while you get there. And I want to invite you to check out and even enroll in my course called Pioneer the Year. And it's going to help you with a pioneering approach to life planning and leadership. And so I'm going to show a quick video. It's a conversation that I had with my wife, Sarah Joy. And she was one of the first guests that I had on for this season 2. And she talks about how Pioneer the Year has helped her. And she talks not just about the course, but she really talks about some mindset shifts that she had to start taking action. And I'm so proud of her because she was literally saying just a few weeks ago, hey, I'm working on a podcast. And guess what? She launched the podcast. So these are skill sets that really do make a difference. And I want you to check this out. Let's get into this video, and then we'll get into your weekly planning. But hang tight. I see a few folks jumping on. That's so fun. Let me know where you're watching from. Welcome to Prepare to Go There. And amazing. I think we can kind of finish up with this last question about the schedule, right? The calendar. Yeah. Because that's where it all lands. Everything that we're talking about, dreaming about, praying about, whatever, it's going to show up in real time. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the challenges that a lot of pioneering leaders have is they don't have the scaffolding. They don't have the external motivation that they used to have or that they hope to have. And they think, well, if I just had an assistant, if I had a team, if I had outsourcing, if I had more mentors, if I had, more instant gratification on social media, then all of these pieces would, all fit in place. And that's not what pioneering leadership looks like. It looks like being internally motivated, consistently focused, bringing the best of you every single day. Yeah. And the tool that we come back to again and again is the schedule. Yeah. So what's some of the frustrations and then hopefully the joys of, realizing, oh no, if I don't move, nothing will happen. If I don't get out of bed, nothing will happen. That realization, that gravity that hits you and says, wow, I really do have to take responsibility for what's going on the schedule.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm so glad you asked. If you haven't taken Peter's quiz on what's your pioneering archetype, I would say go take that right now. I think it really helps bring a lot of verbiage and clarity to just the way that you work and the way that you think, the way that you plan. And so I took the quiz. I actually helped him make the quiz, and I wasn't at all sure what I was, but I thought I was sure of what I was not. And then I took the quiz and I ended up as an explorer, which I did not think that I was anyway. But then reading through it, I was like, oh, this nailed me. It's so true. So anyway, take the quiz and find out, just really kind of what your leadership style or your pioneering style is like, how you approach the future, how you think about other people, how you involve yourself, what your work style is. It's very helpful. Is it in your bio right now? Can people click and see that right there? Okay. Yes. So it's definitely in his Instagram bio, and then I think the link is in the description of this video. So go take that quiz, because that's really helpful to be able to just know up front, kind of identify some things, what your style is. And he also gives you this big blurb that really is an insight into your work style and how you should, like how many hours per week you should set aside for yourself, or what kind of time blocks you should use that really work best with you. I think for mine, it says, give yourself 30 minutes. Because my kind of style of working is to just get to work. And I really have trouble sometimes just setting aside time to like plan stuff out, because as I'm writing it out, I'm like, I'm motivated right now. Like I gotta finish this ASAP to just go start doing it. But you really have to take the time to like sit out and like plan stuff. And I would say I've not been traditionally a calendar person. I think I've been very vocal about that. I don't journal and I don't use a calendar because for me it's felt like such a trap. Like if I commit to something, then I can't do other things, and I can't follow my creativity, and I can't jump into this. But this past week I was like, I'm ready for this. Let's do a calendar planning session. Please, Peter, help me get some stuff done. I have all these different things that I really want to do, and I would really like to get, a month ahead on my YouTube content. And I would really like to start making some TikToks. I just have ideas for them, and I just I don't have time for it. I've got some other stuff that needs to get done, and we need to start doing our taxes. I want to have, time to do this big house project that I have on my mind, but I don't know how to fit it all in. And, I was getting overwhelmed just listing out all the different things that I wanted to do and kind of like estimating how many hours it would take. And then I was just thinking, like, I don't know how to fit all of this in. And I could say it's Friday. I've had a great week. I've gotten so much done. And I'm just,
come on.
I'm shocked. Like, even in day 1 and day 2, I was like, wait, I already got so much done. So anyway, this is not a plug on like how to be more productive, but just really how to think strategically and how to have the right mindset coming into planning your week. Like, just having the right tools is a game changer, or having the right coach. I would say I had a coach like sitting right next to me, like walking me through it. That was such a game changer for me, because when anybody would like give me a planner, and Peter even would do this like when we were dating, he's like, I bought you a planner. And it's like some goal setting Christian go for it girl planner. And I was like, I feel bad and we'll use this, but I probably filled out like 6 days worth and never got into it. I definitely felt bad, but I just couldn't swing it without somebody really walking me through it. And now I feel like I really, I have a system that actually works for me and my style. So anyway, grateful.
Just see how much more you got accomplished, how much, it's not just the task list is done, it's the way you feel at the end of the week. You feel energized, you feel amazing. To know that you are intentionally going for that big, bright future. If someone really took the challenge and they put 30 minutes into thinking strategically about the next week, some people don't even do that. They don't even have some sort of weekly planning session. But if somebody took the challenge and they said, I'm actually going to do it, where do they begin?
I mean, for me, it helps to start with a brain drain and just take everything that's like looming in the back of my mind and try to get it all down on paper and remember all the things that I want to do. Because they can just stay in your mind for months at a time. And then you don't get that, mental clarity, because you have so many different things that are still like swimming around. So just getting it all down on paper is a really good first step. And taking the time just right before the week starts, right before things start picking up, when you can have a breather. I think we did it on like Saturday. We just sat down and I don't even think I took a full 30. I probably took 15 or 20, but it was, And
that really shows it is a small investment. 15 minutes for 168 hours. Of getting the week to just kind of get untangled, get sorted out, and then you can, launch out.
Yeah.
So
and then out of the 168 hours, I think I only planned like 42 hours of it, which sounds like a lot. I was like, oh, this is a full-time job. But you're going to spend the time either way, so how are you going to spend it? Give yourself extra time and not less time. Don't think you can get more things done in a day and try to overemphasize it. Give yourself fewer things, but in a little bit more buffer time. And then you'll feel good because you can actually get more things done than you even budgeted for, instead of fewer and then feeling like you're behind all week. So just, I guess, trim down a little bit and give yourself more room, more time for different projects than you think.
Make your schedule official. However you can do that. There is a point where you're kind of thinking through it, but there has to be a definitive line that you cross over and you say, my week is starting, here is a plan, I'm going to start working on it. I am totally okay with improvising and improving the plan, but I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to be intentional. So, if it's already on paper, it feels real, but you can put it in your calendar. Another thing that you can do is you can actually present the week you planned. Present it to your spouse, your team, your assistant. You need to actually put yourself out there and say, this is the kind of week I'm going to have.
Yeah.
And then you can actually grade yourself, in a few days and say, how am I doing? And
Yeah.
where am I going? And what's next? So, man, that video really, I think, aged well in the sense that since then, just a few weeks ago, my wife has just been getting so much more done, and it's not just activity; it's things that were important to her, like our garden, like her podcast, like the work that she's been taking on, creating, pioneering. A lot of the things that are just happening in this season of our life, and I think just maybe for a lot of us, it feels new, right? We're learning how to kind of reimagine things, or we're being challenged by a lot of the disruptions, and instead of kind of breaking down in fear, we're stepping up. We're stepping up with a sense of purpose, a sense of just a pioneer, go for it attitude. So it's a real go for it moment, and I'm having so much fun getting your feedback. And so, Mr. MP Moss 15, thanks so much for jumping on. And that's why I do this live stream. I'm trying to get as close to real-time coaching as possible. And I love the conversations that with the friends that I get to bring on, as well as fielding some of your questions, because I don't have time. Obviously, we don't have the time to kind of explain everything. That's what the course is for. That's what the archives are for. And we're just going to keep, chipping away week by week. But man, if there's one or two things that could help you to optimize, to level up, to just get reconnected and encouraged with the stuff that matters, let's do it. Let's do it right now. I mean, why can't this week be one of your best weeks all year? Why can't this next week just have a totally different trajectory? And I was hanging out with my wife, and I were visiting friends out of town, and they said, hey, we kind of got like blindsided. We were sick for a few weeks in January, and then it feels like we're kind of starting the year here in March. Is that okay? We're like, yeah, absolutely. It's totally okay. You're navigating this year, and you're making the most out of the days you have. And so don't disqualify yourself, but really just stay in the game and keep swinging. So one of the things Mr. MP Moss 15 was saying is not keeping notes in my head and not getting so random where you can't kind of pull it all together. So maybe this could be helpful. Let me kind of show you two things. One is I've got my Pioneer Planner right here. I call this my Pioneer Planner. It's just a sketchbook that I got. I think this one came from Hobby Lobby, but I mean, you could find something online. And so it really is a centralized place for writing. And I do have notes, notes and note cards and things like that. But another kind of digital go-to is a note-taking app called Evernote. So kind of between those two, that's kind of my hybrid catch-all system. I got the planner, and then I've got Evernote, and I can, explain a lot more, but I won't tell unless I'm asked to share, just so we can steward our time. But yeah, that could be a great beginning place. I think whenever you take this challenge, I call it Future Friday. That's why I'm live streaming this on Fridays. Take 30 minutes, and you could do it right now during your lunch break. Take 30 minutes and reflect, and then plan the next week that you want to have. And it just raises the odds of you being more motivated and more like connected with the work that you need to do. it's you taking a new level of ownership that makes you unstoppable on a day-to-day basis. So I would say the first thing you got to do is externalize what you're feeling, what you're facing, because it's hard to interpret where you are when it's all swimming and tangled up internally. And so that's where that first kind of getting it out on paper, whether it's journaling, whether it's a brain drain, whether it's a conversation, with a coach or a mentor or someone that is just patient enough to help you process things. Some of us are just external processors, and that's okay. If you're more internal processing, you're going to do it in a different setting. But that first thing is you've got to get a good read on where you are, and then you'll begin to see all this stuff and you remember your future. I know that sounds like a paradox. It's a play on words, but you remember your future. You say, oh man, I remember, man, that is important to me. Oh yeah, I should be thinking more about that. I don't know why I've been in this place, and now I know I need to be staying focused, getting back to this. And it's just because time plays tricks on us, and things just kind of get out of hand. And so it's just coming back to really slow down and focus on the future, the future you identified with either at your birthday or the last strategic offsite or January or whenever. We've got to be remembering our future. And then that next step is, after we've externalized things, now we're going to begin to organize things. We're going to organize them into categories. We're going to organize them into theme days. We're going to organize them in the calendar. And the calendar is a future building tool, right? The calendar is where we're actually bringing those things that are what we refer to as future work, not fake work, and we put it on the canvas of our calendar, and we can begin to see where and how it will get done. And now, it feels real. The future feels real. It's not something I'm just kind of talking about, wishing, praying about. It feels real because I have a space on the calendar where I'm going to go show up and do that future work wherever I'm at. If I'm here at home, or whether I'm at our team base, or whether I'm working remote, wherever, I still have created the environment for me to go do that future work. And then, you can optimize. So after you have externalized things and you're getting a good read, you're reconnecting with your why, then you begin to organize your work, and then you optimize it. And that is really your way of future-proofing the plan, future-proofing the work, and saying, hey, I realize I may not feel as motivated on Tuesday or Thursday. I may not want to do this stuff because it happens, or maybe there will be interruptions or disruptions. Like, I realize I'm going kind of behind enemy lines in some of this. I'm going through a minefield of issues. So how can I optimize this schedule and really make it safeguarded, so that way when I show up, I've put in the tools, I've put in the steps, and I call that pre-work. And pre-work is where you actually kind of prepare yourself to have great work when you show up to do it. And there's different ways we can talk about that. So I'm going to stop. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for this guided coaching journey, going on this ride with me. I'd love to help however I can. But in the meantime, I've kind of exhausted this Future Friday, just hopefully getting you to calibrate your focus and using that future work as the filter. So if you want to throw something in the chat, go ahead and do it right now before we roll out. But otherwise, I'm going to go to my outro stuff. So I want to give you a call to action. Go check out the course, pioneertheyear.com. It'll help you turn the repeat years into new frontiers. And it's 4 modules that will give you the pioneering approach to lead yourself, stay focused on your future. It's really focused on life planning and leadership. And I think a lot of people started the year betting on goal setting and productivity. And that's good, but if you really want to pioneer the entire year, you're going to need to level up your thinking, level up in your leadership. And that was the real transformation for me, and that's what I get to help future-focused people with. This is what I'm passionate about, is just getting connected with leaders that want to pioneer the future. So that is that. I appreciate your time as always. I will be back next Friday. In the meantime, remember, you're going places, but you got to prepare to go there. So put in the work, have a great week, and we'll talk again real soon.